So today we are going to discuss the last part of microwave network analysis, that is called isolator and circulators. So as we have discussed directional coupler, the various parameters we have seen, basically three parameters we have seen. One is coupling coefficient, one is coupling factor, one is directivity, and one is isolation factor. Now with the help of that analogy, we will proceed to discuss about the isolator and circulator. Now as you can see, the isolator or the circulator, the word itself indicates that it will isolate the reflected signal. Always remember that, because this isolation we have seen in our directional coupler when we are providing the power in the primary section, and the sum of the power is distributed in the auxiliary part, auxiliary wing, and we form a relation with respect to coupling. Okay, so port 1, if you provide the power at port 1, then port 4 is coupling with port 1 and port 2, and this coupling factor is basically form a relation between the primary section with respect to the auxiliary section. Okay, next, directivity we have measured only with respect to the auxiliary arm, that is the ratio between the fourth output, means port 4 power with respect to port 3 power. Okay, and we have also seen that how to identify the isolation factor also. Isolation factor itself indicates that with respect to port 1, which particular port is isolated. Suppose if I am providing the power at port 1, it is not related, or none of the power is provided, or we are getting the output at the port 3. So port 1 and port 3 are isolated with each other. Similarly, port 2 and port 4 are isolated with each other. Now you can change the feeding power in different ports. So according to that, you have to change this ratio with respect to coupling, with respect to directivity, and with respect to the isolation. Okay. Now similarly, there are two more devices which are basically used to divide the power. To divide the power in a certain direction, same amount of power can be distributed, or when we are delivering some sort of power at load some reflection will occur due to the mismatch condition, because we do not know what sort of load we are going to have at the end of the transmission line or end of the particular waveguide. So total power must be delivered at a load with maximum output. So that is our main motive. But how to get that maximum output? The maximum output is only possible when our characteristics of a line must be matched with our load impedance. So if the characteristics impedance is equivalent to the load impedance, then maximum power we can deliver. But if it is mismatched, we have seen the mismatch condition also, the reflection coefficient will change and the S parameter is also going to change. So if it is mismatched, that means reflection will occur, and if the reflection occur, we may lose our information. So there is some devices will help to restrict that reflection, and that reflected wave is revert back to the generator end, and it will act as an attenuation. Means whatever the power we are feeding to the load end, at load due to the mismatch some reflected power is generated, and that reflected power move towards the generator, and which will obstruct the input power from the generator end, and this obstruction is called as attenuation. Okay, so this is act as a noise. It will generate a reflected wave at the load end due to the mismatch condition, and that reflected wave will hamper to our transmitted wave. And if it is hampering to our transmitted wave, that means there is a loss of information. That means it will act as an attenuation. It will contribute attenuation to our transmitted signal, what we want to deliver from transmitter end to the receiver end, or you can say microwave sources to the load end. So here I have shown two block diagrams. As you can see, first I have shown it is a microwave source and we have a load. So this is the basic requirement of a communication. Okay, one is generator, one is load, and I will fix a certain waveguides between source and the load so that the maximum information can be delivered. So here two arrows I have shown, one is the incident, one is the reflected one. Now in this case, if load is not matched with respect to the characteristics impedance of a waveguide which these microwave sources is energized, then what happens? Mismatch will happen. Mismatch means the impedance of the load is not matched with respect to the impedance of a waveguide. Okay. Now, if it is not matched, what will happen? Reflection coefficient will generate. If the reflection coefficient generate means reflected wave will propagate in this particular direction, and the reflected wave will hamper to the transmitted wave which is generated from the microwave source, and which is also called as an attenuation. It will contribute some sort of noise to it, so that maximum information may not be delivered. So what we will do, we will arrange in a certain manner so that this reflected wave will be obstruct and it will not reflect back to the generator end. That is our motive. So that maximum information we are going to deliver at the load without interrupting or without getting any sort of attenuation from the load end. Okay. So for that, you can see here I have used one small box that is called isolator. So this isolator, what will happen? This isolator is a device. It will provide a unidirectional device. Okay. First of all, I will clear that this isolator is a unidirectional device. That means whatever you will feed from one end in the same direction, the output will go. It will not revert back. Some parameters are there that we will discuss why it will not revert back. Okay. And the same thing we are going to use for the circulators also, and what are the materials are available in that and how it will absorb. So that also I will discuss. Okay. So here you can see I have placed an isolator between the source and the load. Now if I am placing the isolator between source and the load, that means I am providing the power in only one direction. Okay. In which direction? Towards the load. But if it is a mismatch condition, from the load the reflected wave revert back to the source, and which will act as a attenuation to the incident wave. But in this case, from the load, if any reflected wave is generated, this isolator will absorb that one. Okay, that it will absorb the reflected power. It will absorb the reflected waves, and it will not propagate, and it will not allow the reflected wave to revert back to the microwave source. So here I have shown it is 0. That means no reflected wave at the microwave source. So that is the property of isolator we are going to discuss, and this isolator working principle is called as a Faraday isolator. Okay, the Faraday is a scientist who has developed this sort of isolator which will absorb the reflected wave, and how it is going to absorb that I will also discuss. So for the time being, understand that this isolator is only provide the unidirectional. So whatever the power is fed from the microwave source, it will be transmitted from this end to this end in one particular direction. Now this load is, let us consider it is a mismatch. It is not matching with the rectangular waveguides or the transmission line. So if it is mismatched, reflected waves will be generated, and the isolator will absorb all those reflected waves. Okay, it is having certain principle that we will discuss. So it will absorb all the reflected wave, and no reflected wave is provided to the microwave source. So it will absorb the reflected wave, and it will provide a unidirectional path from one end to the other end. Okay, so this is the isolator which will isolate the reflected power towards the microwave source. Now how we are going to analyze it, let us see. And remember, this isolator is a two-port network. Okay, it is a two-port network, port 1 and port 2. So two-port network. So it will provide the power at the port 1. If we provide the power at port 1, output is going to be delivered at the port 2 without any changes. That is the first condition. But when the reflected wave is fed to the isolator, the waves are going to change, the parameters are going to change, and the reflected wave will cancel out with each other, and no reflected wave is identified at the microwave source, and the reflected wave are absorbed in the isolator. It is having a small element called ferrite element. Always remember this. In isolator, in circulator, we have a ferrite material. These ferrite materials are the good absorber of magnetic field. So when we propagate microwave fields, means electric field and magnetic field, it will absorb the magnetic field, means reflected magnetic field in a particular direction. It will only provide in a one particular direction. But when the magnetic fields are reverse in nature, that reversible magnetic fields are absorbed by the isolator, and only the electric fields are going to propagate in the reverse direction. But it is also having certain property which will absorb or which will suppress the electric fields. That we will discuss now. Okay. So here you can see this is called Faraday isolator. Okay. Here I will say it is called a Faraday isolator. So it is a two-port device. You can see this is a port 1 and this is port 2. Okay. So as I have told, these isolators are basically used to isolate the magnetic fields, because when we propagate the electromagnetic wave throughout this waveguide, the E field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. Okay, and the magnetic fields are circular in nature. Okay, and electric fields are radial in nature. So here I have shown these red lines are radial in nature. Electric fields are radial in nature, and magnetic fields, if I will show electric field as this, magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other. So this is E and this is H. So H, what will happen? H will propagate in a circular manner. Okay, in a rectangle, in a circular manner. If it is moving in this manner, the return back of the or completing that loop, it will be absorbed by this ferrite material. Okay, that we will discuss now. So it is a two-port device. Okay, so port 1 and port 2. It consists of three elements. One, two resistive cards are there which will absorb the electric field. Okay, reflected electric fields. These are the two resistive cards. So in which potential drop will be there, and due to some sort of condition, the electric field, reflected electric fields are cancelled with each other, and resultant there is no reflected wave is available at port 1. Suppose if port 1 is filled with power, port 2 we will get the same power. But due to the reflection, the power, if it is reflected back from port 2 to port 1, then the electric fields are going to change certain direction and it will be cancelled out and it will be suppressed with the help of this property I will tell, and then no output is available at port 1. So it is a unidirectional device, first. Second, it is a two-port network. Okay. Third, it consists of three elements, two resistive cards and one ferrite material which is having an edge of 45 degree. It will rotate. Okay, it is a rotation. This 45 degree angle it will rotate. So this, it is called as a ferrite material. Here I will write, it is called ferrite material. And this rotation is called as a Faraday rotation. Remember that. Faraday rotation for an angle of 45 degree. And it is a good absorber of magnetic field. The magnetic field which is returned back from port 2 to port 1, it will absorb it, and due to this rotation, electric field change its position and it will absorb by the whole component, and resultant at the port 1 is 0. So how it will work, I will discuss. Now for the time being, understand that TE, now here you can see as per the construction, there are two rectangular waveguide and one cylindrical waveguide and one twist is there. If you see this particular part, you can see it is called as a rectangular waveguide. At this particular part, you can see it is a rectangular waveguide. Now this rectangular waveguide are converted into the twist, and that twist is of 45 degree. Okay. Why this twist is given? Because the electric field and magnetic field need to be passed in a unidirectional method. It should not be returned back to this. So how it will absorb? First, if it is incident, 45 degree change will be there with respect to electric field. Magnetic field will remain as it is because it is circular in nature, which is going to hamper electric field, potential drop. Okay, so potential drop is related with respect to electric field. So it will twist. So magnetic field will remain as it is, but my electric field change its direction at 45 degree. Done. Now once it is 45 degrees done, next is it enters to the cylindrical waveguide. Now cylindrical waveguide is having certain principle. I will tell what it is. In that cylindrical waveguide, we have this ferrite material which will rotate an angle of 45 degree. That means whatever the 45 degree it was twist with respect to electric field, again it will rotate the same 45 degree to regain back to the original position, means 0 position, 0 degree without any change. So this is what? This happens only with respect to change the direction of electric field. Magnetic field remain as it is. Now this cylindrical waveguide output is fed to this resistive part. In this resistive, potential drop will be there and we can extract the same output what we are providing at the port 1. So at port 1 you can see there is one rectangular waveguide. So there are three things are there. First, one rectangular waveguide, one twist, one cylindrical waveguide, and the last one is the rectangular waveguide where we are extracting. But the three features are what? First is this, second is this, third is this. Now how it will work? Because when we are transmitting some source, when we are transmitting some microwave power through a rectangular waveguide or through a cylindrical waveguide, we should identify which mode it is going to operate. Okay? Because in rectangular waveguide and these waveguide devices, basically we have three sort of transmission mode, or you can say transverse mode. One is transverse electric mode, one is transverse magnetic mode, and transverse electromagnetic mode. Okay. Next, here we are concentrating with respect to electric field because potential drop is going to happen. So what I will do, I will use the transverse electric mode. In transverse electric mode, you are going to analyze only with respect to electric field. Magnetic field is going to be suppressed as 0 for the particular direction. Okay. Now, if it is a rectangular waveguide, it must operate at TE10 mode. What it is? TE10 mode. TE10 mode is called as a dominant mode, or it is the mode at which the lower cutoff frequency, where it is above which it can operate. Because these waveguides, remember that waveguides are nothing but a filters. Okay, these all are called as a high pass filter. High pass filter means when you provide the input frequency. Suppose if my input frequency is F1, and the waveguide operating frequency is Fc. If F1 is greater than Fc, okay, if F1 is greater than Fc, then only the information is going to be delivered in this particular waveguide. Otherwise, no information can be propagated from this end to this end. So this is one sort of logic behind the working principle of a waveguide. So we have to see which sort of waveguide it is. First, we have considered it is a rectangular waveguide. Okay, but a rectangular waveguide, which mode? Basically, whenever we are using for a certain waveguides and all these things, we have to see whether it is operating in a dominant mode or whether it is operating in a degenerate mode. Basically, when we use as a dominant mode, that means we are observing the lowest cutoff frequency from where the max frequency can be given to a particular system. If the cutoff frequency of this rectangular waveguide is Fc and I am providing the power with having a frequency F1 and F1 must be greater than Fc, then only the signal is going to penetrate to this particular device. Otherwise it will not allow. It is act as a filter. It is a high pass filter. All waveguides. Okay. So it is a logic. So here I have used, it is a TE10 mode. So TE10 mode, it is a dominant mode. Okay. Basically we are writing the TEMN. So Mn is the number of modes. M indicate along x-axis, N indicates along y-axis, and the total wave is propagating along z-axis. So M and N is the half wave power propagating along x-axis, N indicates the half wave power propagating along y-axis. So TEMN, M is equals to 1, N is equals to 0. So we will have TE10 mode, and TE10 mode is the dominant mode for a rectangular waveguide. Similarly, if it is a cylindrical waveguide, the TE11, okay, TE11. So this is our cylindrical waveguide. So here we will have TE11, because in cylindrical system, X, Y and Z is converted to rho, phi and Z. So rho, phi and Z means rho is the radius of a cylinder, phi is the azimuthal angle, and Z is the direction of propagation. So here we are considering that wave is propagating along Z axis. So here the axis of this rotation or this isolator is z-axis. So whatever the wave is propagating in the z-axis, the field components will be generated with respect to x and y and rho and phi. Okay. So when I am using the rectangular system first, the dominant mode is TE10. Okay. When this TE10 power is delivered to this particular twist and it is entering to the cylindrical waveguide, then the dominant mode of a cylindrical waveguide will take over the power. So cylindrical waveguide is what? It is having a dominant mode T11. Next, from this cylindrical waveguide to this rectangular waveguide, so output will observe in T10. So here I have written at port 2 T10, at port 1 T10, and the cylindrical waveguide is T11. So there are three phases are there as I have told. First T10, second TE11 due to the cylindrical nature, and TE10 which is the output of a rectangular waveguide. So this is the unidirectional. Now the question comes, the same power, how it is happens, okay, how it operates, how this same power is available after this twist and after this rotation and all. Let's see. Here you can see I have drawn one figure, okay. So this is the basic analogy of this particular rotation, okay. This Faraday rotation, it is called as an isolator. Isolator will provide the input power to the output port in one only direction, in one direction. It will not revert back to the same port one, okay. How? As I have told, it is a cylindrical system, rectangular system in which electric fields are going to analyze. Because T10 mode we are considering, magnetic field we are not taking up. So condition of TE is Ez is not equals to 0 but Hz is equals to 0. So maximum information we are going to transmit with the help of electric field, okay. So here the electric fields, these red lines with an arrow, you can see these all are electric fields perpendicular to the flow of direction, okay. And this axis is called as our z-axis. So this is x-axis and this side it is y-axis. In this magnetic field should present, but since we are using TE mode, the magnetic fields we have suppressed along z-axis. But the magnetic field will have in other axis, because if it is a rectangular system, three-dimensional, three component of electric field and three component of magnetic field we are going to analyze. So what are the fields? First is Ex, Ey and Ez, Hx, Hy and Hz. For TE mode, Ez is not equals to 0 and Hz is equals to 0. So this is the condition. So if Hz is 0, other parameters are there, x and y. So that x and y magnetic fields will be absorbed by this ferrite material. It is a good absorbent of our magnetic fields. It will absorb this magnetic field and only the electric fields are going to propagate. Okay, let's see. So first it is T10 mode, because now the power is provided to this rectangular waveguide. So electric field is having T10 mode. Now when it is propagating to this resistive card, potential drop will be there. There is no phase shift because there is no rotation, nothing else. So in that resistive potential, it is T10. The same power is available at this point. Okay. Next, this is the second stage. So this is the second stage. This is the first stage. First stage means at the rectangular waveguide input. Second stage at the resistive card without any phase shift. So same potential we are having. Next, when it is entered to the twist. So twist means it will twist the angle of the electric field. Electric fields are perpendicular to x-axis. When it is entering to the twist of 45 degree, the electric field will twist to 45. So here you can see, initially this is the perpendicular position of the electric field. Due to the presence of this twist, it will tilt back towards 45 degree. So this rotation is called as a due to the twist. It is due to the twist. And twist that to be a cylindrical system. Here you can see this twist is a cylindrical system. So cylindrical system means which particular mode it will come? The mode is T11. Done. Now After this twist, which is suffered by 45 degree, it will tilt like this, okay, due to the presence of this electric field which is twisted to 45 degree. Now the same information is propagating in the cylindrical waveguide, okay, and in cylindrical waveguide we have a ferrite material which will rotate to 45 degree. Now it is moving in clockwise direction. Then, so if it is in clockwise direction, remember that this twist is in counterclockwise, means anti-clockwise it will rotate. So here it is rotating in anti-clockwise. So initially the position is this. If the electric field position is this is my electric field. So it will rotate. This electric field will move like this. So this is, so here it is counterclockwise, means anti-clockwise the electric field is moved due to the presence of this twist. Now once it is rotated toward 45 degree and with a mode of T11, it will enter to this particular point, okay. In this point what happens, there is one ferrite material which will rotate at an angle of 45 degree in clockwise direction, Now this is the position of electric field and we have TE11. Done. Now this TE11, when it is entered to this ferrite material and it is rotating clockwise 45 degree, that means which is rotated to the counterclockwise of 45 degree, it will regain back to the original position. So here you can see the original position of electric field is returned back to the 45 degree, means from 45 to 0 it will come back 0 degree, okay. So now this T11 is quite similar to T10. Now T11, when it is delivered to this resistive load, it will suffer no angle separation. So it is T11. Now this power is delivered to the last port, which is one rectangular waveguide, and it is operating in a dominant mode, that is T10. So you can see that T10 at the port 1 and T10 at the port 2 both are in phase component. So that means it is a unidirectional path. But secondly, if it is unidirectional, it should absorb the reflected wave. Okay. So this is the from port 1 to port 2. Working principle of a isolator from port 1 to port 2. What are the steps? First step is what? Rectangular waveguide. Second step is what? It is a twisted is there, which is cylindrical in nature. And third one is that cylindrical to rectangular in nature. So what will happen first? Electric field with no phase angle, it will deliver the power at the resistive load, that is T10. It is a rectangular. When it is entering to the twist, it is a rectangular cylindrical system. Twist will suffer an angle of 45 degree in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, it is anti-clockwise direction. And which sort of mode? It is T11 because cylindrical system. Now T11 is entering, which is suffered by anti-clockwise. Now this ferrite material will rotate it is 45 degree clockwise direction. Okay. So if it is rotating as a clockwise direction, regain back to the original position of electric field, but it is in T11. Now T11, when it is delivered to the rectangular system, it becomes as a T10 because dominant mode need to synchronize with each other. Okay. So at the output of the port 2, whatever the information we have provided at port 1, same information we are going to deliver at the port 2 without any loss of power. Okay. So that is our main motive. We should not lose the incident power which it is going to deliver through this particular device. That is the first case. Now, if some reflection occur, this particular port is connected to this load, okay, and its load is mismatched. If this load is not matched to this particular device, if the characteristics impedance of this isolator is not matched with the characteristics impedance of the load or the load impedance, reflected will happen. Reflection of wave will happen. So that reflected wave will propagate from port 1 to port 2. Now, as I have told, the isolator is a unidirectional device. It will not allow the reflected wave to penetrate from port 2 to port 1. But how? Let's see. As you can see, this is the second figure. Okay. In this case, I have considered if some sort of reflected power observed at port 2, if it is propagating back to the port 1, then what is the output is available at port 1 we will discuss. Okay, if we justify that output at port 1 is 0, that means we have discussed that the whole working principle of isolator. Okay, now see, it is a port 2. Now port 2 is a rectangular waveguide, okay, and dominant mode is T10 as you can see here. So it is a electric field T10. There is a resistive card is there, okay, it will potential drop will be there. So it is T11 because this card is available in the circular waveguide. Okay, so change of mode is happened from T10 to T11, rectangular system to the cylindrical system with the same phase. Okay, next, when it is entering to the this particular part which is called ferrite, means ferrite material, and which rotate at an angle of 45 degree clockwise. So you can see initially the electric field is perpendicular to z-axis. Now due to the presence of this ferrite material, it's rotate at an angle of 45 degree, means it will twist in a clockwise direction. Done. So this is T11 because it is in rectangular cylindrical system. Done. Next is our twist. Done. This twist is 45 degree. So here what happens when it is, now you can see when I am projecting the power from port 1 to port 2, this twist the angle in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, rotation is done by this ferrite material in clockwise direction. Okay, now this twist is made in such a manner that when you inject the power, it will rotate the power in anti-clockwise 45 degree. But when you feed the power at port 2, it will rotate the power in clockwise. Arrangement is made like that. Okay. Only the thing is that we have to see whether this ferrite isolator is rotating our signal or not. So here, due to the presence of this ferrite material, 45 degree it suffers, means in clockwise it is rotated. Now this 45 degree output of a cylindrical waveguide is twisted in this particular point. It will twist 45 degree more in clockwise direction. So here you can see 90 degree it was moved, T11. Now T11, if it is out of phase 90 degree, and when we are, and this 90 degree when it is reaches to this rectangular waveguide here, so you can say maximum power is provided at 0 degree and minimum power is provided at 90 degree. So if I will take cos 0, maximum power is available, and cos 90 means 0, so 0 power is available. So here you can see if it is tilted to the 90 degree T11, then it is very difficult to identify. Here we will get T10, which is 90 degree phase shift. So if it is 90 degree phase shift, what will be the total power? It is 90 degree phase shift. So my electric field will look like this. So it is T10 if it is delivered at mode. Now if you see T10 at the port 1 is perpendicular to z-axis, and in T10 at the port 1 due to the reflected, which is 90 degree apart. So total power 1 is cos 90 degree, this is cos 90 minus this is cos cos 90 degree. This is for input and this is for output at port 1. So cos 90 means 90 degree if it suffers, that means your phase got reversed. If the phase got changed with 90 degree, cos of 90 degree means 0 output. So the power at the port 1 is 0. So that means it reflected power which is provided at the port 2 becomes 0 at the port 1. So that means it provides only the incident wave, all reflected waves are absorbed. Okay, so this is the working principle of isolator, and this isolator is also called as a Faraday isolator, which based on the working principle of Faraday rotation. Okay, and this rotation is done with respect to the arrangement of the isolator. So this is the basic working principle of isolator. Now we will discuss. Now since it is a two-port network, how many scattering parameters will be there? The scattering parameters will be 4 because two-port. S11, S12, S21, S22. And what will be those parameters? That we will see now. Let me erase this part. So scattering parameter for isolator. Now isolator is a two-port network. Two-port network. Now isolator is a two-port network. That means we have S11, S12, S21, S22. Okay. Now if I want to deliver the maximum information, what it should indicate? The port 1 must be perfectly matched and port 2 must be perfectly matched. If it is perfectly matched, S11 is equals to S22 is equals to 0. Why? Because if it is perfectly matched, the diagonal elements are the reflection coefficient which is equals to 0. This is the first case. Second, we are providing the power from port 1 and deliver at port 2. So which scattering parameters is going to exist? S21 is not equals to 0. Means it will provide the power from 1 to 2. But the reflected power which is available at the port 2, it should not come back to the port 1. So if it should not come back to the port 1, that is S21 must be equal to 0. Okay, it is not a reciprocal network. Okay, remember that reciprocal means S12 is equals to S21, like that you can analyze, but it is not reciprocal. It provides only the unidirectional path. So these are the certain conditions through which we can measure our scattering parameter. So first one is if the ports are perfectly matched, maximum power is available at port 1 which is going to deliver at port 2 which is also matched. So S11, S22 are 0. Power is feeding from 1 to 2, so there must be a relation from port 2 to port 1. So S21 is not equals to 0. And from 2 to 1, there is no sort of power is going to deliver from port 2 to 1. Means no reflected power is going to come to the port 1 from port 2. So I have written S12 is 0. So now my scattering parameter will be 0, 0, 1, 0. So this is the simple representation of isolator with the help of scattering parameter. So these are the scattering parameters for isolator. And basically this isolator can identify the isolation factor also, directivity also. Directivity is not possible here. Here we can identify the isolation factor, that is minus 20 log of S21, because S21 is existing, so isolation factor can be identified. For isolator, only one parameter we are going to determine, that is called isolation factor. In directional coupler, we are identifying three factors. First, isolation factor, second, coupling factor, third, directivity. Okay. Now this is the working principle of a Faraday isolator. Next we will discuss about the circulator. So now you can see I have drawn two basic block diagram and one scattering parameter for circulator. Now circulator itself indicates that it will circulate the signal to the adjacent ports in a certain direction. Okay, and this direction must be clockwise direction. It is available with respect to the device ports. Here I have drawn it is a 4-port circulator. Even we have 3-port circulator also. Now let me discuss about this 4-port circulator first. Then we will discuss about 3-port circulator. Now here you can see circulator means it will circulate the power without losing any sort of materials. And in this circulator we have one small element at the center that is called ferrite material. And this ferrite material is a good absorber of magnetic field. It will absorb the magnetic field, reflected magnetic field. It means it will provide in a unidirectional method. It will not reverse back to the no reflected power is available to the transmitted port, as I have shown in our this isolator. So same working principle is going to happen in this also. Okay, how? Let's see. So in this, when I am feeding the power at port 1, the adjacent port 2 is we are having the power. We have seen the power divider. We have splitters are there. Two powers are divided, and the third point in the rat race we have seen that at an angle of 180 degree it is cancelled with each other, but in the alternate ports the half of the power is available, but in this case it is not like that. It is circulate the power in a certain direction, in a uniform direction. It is a clockwise in nature. In the center position we have a small ferrite material which will absorb the reflected waves. It will only provide the unidirectional path. If the power is fed at port 1, the output power we are going to observe at the port 2 like this. We are going to observe the output power at port 2, not at port 4, because unidirectional path. And that too, unidirectional means with respect to the isolator, as I have told, if I am providing power 1 to 2, I will have only S21 parameter, not S12. S12 means reflected from 2 to 1. So S12 will not equals to 0. S12 is equals to 0. So like that you can analyze. So it is a unidirectional path. Okay. Next, if you feed the power at port 2, its next adjacent part is our port 3. So at port 2, if I am feeding the power, next port is available at port 3. Now at port 3, we have S32 is not equals to 0, but S23 is equals to 0. Like that also we can analyze, because isolation happens. It will isolate, means the reflected wave from 3 to 2. It will provide only the unidirectional path. Okay. Similarly, if I am feeding the power at port 3, the output is available at port 4. Okay. Output is available at port 4. So that means we have S43 not equals to 0, S34 is equals to 0. So this is the parameter, because it is a 4-port network, means there are 16 parameters are there, and in that 16 parameter these are the conditions. One is S21 is not equals to 0, unidirectional. S12 is 0 because no reflection happens. Similarly, S32 we have the incident power. S23 is the reflected one, so it is 0. S43 means from 3 to 4 when it is propagating, it provides the power in the alternate, in the adjacent arm, that is 3 to 4. So it is S43 is not equals to 0, S34 equals to 0. Similarly, if you feed the power at port 4, the next adjacent port is port 1 in clockwise direction. And here we have S14 is equals to 0 and S41 is 42114 is not equals to 0, but S41 is equals to 0. So these are the scattering parameter. With the help of this, you can design your scattering parameter. Now, as I have told, in our isolator we need to match the ports perfectly. So here there are 4 ports are available, and if all the 4 ports are perfectly matched, port 1 S11 is 0, port 2 S22 is 0, S33 is also 0, and S44 is also 0. Done. So if you substitute all these conditions in your S matrix for the circulator will look like this. First, all the ports are perfectly matched. So here you can see the diagonal elements are 0, perfectly matched. Then this is S12. S12 is how much? 0. This is what? S13. S13 means there is no link between 1 and 3, so that is also 0. S14, yes, we have S14 not equals to 0, so I have substituted 1. Similarly, S21. So here S21 is not equals to 0, so it is 1. This is S22, it is 0. S23, there is no link between 2 and 3, so here we have substituted 0. And S24, there is no link between 2 and 4, so it is 0. Similarly, other parameters also you can substitute and you can determine the scattering parameters for 4-port isolator. But how this isolator works, that main question will come now. This is the simple design process with respect to what? The analogy we have identified the scattering parameter. But how it is going to work? Basically, the circulator is constructed with the help of two magic tee and one non-reciprocal phase shifter with the help of this sort of arrangement. In magic tee also we have seen what is the application of magic tee. It will provide a unidirectional path from port 1, port 2, port 3 and port 4. How the arrangement we have seen, when it is work as a duplexer, when it is work as a impedance matching, and also in terms of radar also we have seen. So this is the basic arrangement for the forming a circulator. Circulator itself indicates that if you provide the power at port 1, you should get the port at 2, alternate. So here what I have done, here I have used one magic tee T1, here I have used the magic tee T2. There are 4 ports are available. In that 4 port, one port I have used for the port 1 of a circulator, port 3 for another part of a circulator, and these 2 arms are provided with a power, incident power, and the whatever the power is going to split. So it is a D and B. Similarly, this is E and this is A. Okay, in which power is going to enter and power is going to output at 2 and 4. So I have arranged like this. Now, how the power is going to split? Let's see. Now, when we are feeding the power at port 1, the output is available at port 2. No at port 4, no at port 3. Now in magic tee, you can see that when we are providing the power in the E arm or the H arm, okay, in E arm, if you feed the power, it will split. But when you feed the power in the H arm, or the output we are getting at the H arm, so you can consider any of these 4 and 3 can be H arm, and the 2 and 1 can be as a E arm. So E arm in which the difference is going to happen. Suppose if I am feeding the power at port 1, so that means there is no link between port 1 and port 3, because H and E there is no link. Okay, so it is having a link with 1 and 2. So if I am feeding the power P1, in this D and B we have P1 by 2, half of the power is propagating in the 2 arm, it is splitted up and it is moving in this particular direction. One it will move in this and one it will move in this. Okay. Now this non-reciprocal phase shifter, what will happen? It will not change the phase shift of the incident wave. It will change the phase shift of the reflected wave. Means when the wave is propagating in this arm entering to A, okay, if some sort of reflected power, if it is coming like this, this non-reciprocal phase shifter will change the phase shift, and that phase, when it is added at port 3, output will be 0. I will tell how. First let me take the incident path first. So here P1 by 2 is fed to the A, here also P1 by 2 is fed to the E, like this. Now here we need to add the power. Okay, we need to add the power. So where we are going to add the power in the magic tee? In H arm. So in that case, the port 2 will act as a H arm. In this case, E1 is called as a E arm or a difference arm, or which is called as a power divider, you can see. So here we are giving the one port of this magic tee to the another magic tee. So here the power is going to be added up and provided at port 2. So that means in this sort of arrangement, now here you can see port 1 is fed the power and the output power is available at port 2. No output power at port 3, no output power at port 4. Now the same power, if you add and feed the power at the port 4, in port 4 it is called as a E arm for this T magic T. So same power is going to cancel and output power is 0 at port 4. Only the power is available at the H arm of the T2. So T2 is the magic T second and T1 is the magic T first. So here we have provided the P1, half of the power is distributed and added in the arm at port 2. Over. Next, this is the incident case. But how it is not related with port 3? Let's see. So in port 3, if the power is reflected back, let us consider. If it is reflected back. So if it is reflected back, the incident power is going to change with 180 degree. So cos of 180 degree it will come. Here we have, there is no phase shifter. So it will P1 by 2, some power will represent. And in this port 3, what will happen? In port 3, if it is reflected back from this, port 3 will act as a summer. So here in port 3, we will have P1 by 2 plus P1 by 2 cos 180 degree. So P1 by 2 is the upper part power and P1 by 2 is the cos 180 degree, which is phase shifted by 180 degree. It is a non-reciprocal, as I have told. So if you add these two, P1 by 2 and minus P by 2, because cos 180 is minus 1. So P1 by 2, resultant is 0. So at output 3, the resultant is 0. So that is the working of P1 and P2. There is no relationship, because if you fed the power at port 1, reflected power is going to change by 180 degree, and if you add these two at port 3, you will get 0. Okay. Similarly, now if you fed the power, so what I will do? I will write port 1. It split the power in arm D and in arm B. Then D and E, this is for this T1, okay, magic T, T1. So power is fed at port 1, so power is available, equal power at port at D and E arm, and then it enters to E arm and A arm of T2, magic T, T2, and it is added up and provided at the power at 2, at port 2. So we are getting the output power at port 2. Similarly, reflected, if you see, the upper part don't have any sort of phase shifter. Okay. So same half of the power is going to reflect back. But in this arm, you can see there is a pi phase shifter is there. So if it is reflected back, it is 180 degree it will suffer, and at port 1 it will added up, and resultant where we will get? Resultant at port 3, because at now if the reflected power is comes like that, we will get the output at 3. So in port 3, reflected one will have 0. So there is no link between 1 and 3, and we have justified that why it is not linked with 1 and 3. Reflected will be 180 degree. So this is one. Similarly, if you feed the power, that I have discussed with respect to reflected, how it is 1 is not related with 3, okay, and how 2 is not related with 3. Now if you feed the power at port 2, now here if it is port 2, okay, now power is going to distribute in this E arm and A arm. Now E arm, when it is going to distribute, it will follow in this particular manner, and it will enter to D and B and added up and form at 3, not at 1. Because now in this case, it will act as a sum arm, this is act as a difference arm. So if you fit the power at 2, alternate power we are getting at a port 3. Similarly, if you fit the power at port 3, alternate power you are going to observe at port 4. Done? Like this you have to analyze. And with the help of what? With the help of this magic T and with the help of non-reciprocal phase shifter. So this one I have discussed with respect to port 1 and port 2. Similarly, you can write for feeding the power at port 2, which particular path it will follow and where it is going to add. So it will follow the path of E to D, then A to B, and it will add up at 3. So alternate is 3 and 2. Similarly, if you fit the power at 3, D and E power will be added up and provided at port 4 because it is a non-reciprocal in nature, and due to which the scattering parameters we are going to observe. So this is the working principle of a 4-port circulator, because here we have used 180-degree phase shifter for the this non-reciprocal phase shifter, and it is made up of ferrite material. It will absorb the reflected wave. It will not provide the reciprocity theorem to satisfy. Means S12 is not equals to S21, S23 is not equals to S32, S24 is not equals to S42, or S14 is not equals to S41, and S34 is not equals to S43. So these are the certain parameters through which you can analyze all this working principle. Okay. Okay. So this is called 3-port circulator, and it also works in the same principle as what I have shown for the 4-port network. If you consider this one as port 1, this one as port 2, and this one as port 3. So from port 1 to port 2 will have the output, then port 2 to port 3 will have the output, and port 3 to port 1 will have the output. But here the angle of rotation is, as per the figure, it is 120 degree apart. These 4 ports are available at different ports. 3 ports are separated at an angle of 120 degree, and that is called ferrite materials, which will absorb the reflected magnetic field. Okay, and it will provide a unidirectional path. So again, if I am forming as per the arrangement, what will be the scattering parameters? First arrangement is what? First, all the ports are perfectly matched. Okay, so that maximum output can be delivered to the load. So S11, S22, S33 are matched. Suppose if you are feeding the power at port 1, you are getting the power at port 2. So that means S21 is not equals to 0 and S12 is equals to 0. S12 means reflected one. Done. Similarly, S32 is not equals to 0, S23 is equals to 0. Similarly, S13 is not equals to 0, but S31 is equals to 0. So using this basic principle, I can form the scattering parameters, that is S11 is 0, all the diagonal elements are 0 due to perfectly matched. This is S12 which is 0, S13 it exists, I have substituted 1, S21 it exists, S22 0, S23 0, S31 is 0, S32 is 1, and S33 is 0. So as per the representation of this rotation of field to the alternate ports in a clockwise direction, these scattering parameters are identified. Okay, and the typical characteristics of these circulators are basically identified with the help of 2 things. One, what is the isolation factor? Second, as I have written, what is the insertion loss? Okay, insertion loss means incident power, where it is going to happen. If I am providing the power at port 1, alternate power is port 2, insertion power can be identified. Even the isolation factor also identified. Okay, so insertion loss must be less than 10 dB, isolation factor must be lies between 30 to 40 dB, and your reflection coefficient with respect to VSWR, it must be less than 1.5. So you can identify easily what will be our reflection coefficient. Okay, it must not increase from that. So VSWR must be 1.5. So these are the basic representation, basic working principle for isolator and circulator. Next class we are going to solve few numericals regarding the directional coupler, isolators and circulator. Till then, thank you all.